Hi, I'm Nicholas Burtner with School of Permaculture. Guys, I got a great person with me here today. A good friend of mine and an awesome permie up here in Corvallis, Oregon. Andrew Millison, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Dude, it's so awesome to be here. Your place looks amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just remember last time we were here, it was last winter, and we did some tips, and if you haven't checked those out, go check them out now. Andrew's doing amazing work here. But hey, man, we have like a lot of people know Andrew Millison is, you know what I mean? They know like the work you're doing. You're doing online courses through the Oregon State University, which is kind of rare in and of itself. But like most of the permies been kind of doing it a long time.
Yeah.
We don't, let's find out a little bit more about you, man.
Yeah.
Like where, if you don't mind, let's just start from the beginning.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. Start from the beginning. So I grew up in Philly, right?
Yeah.
And I graduated from high school and left there when I was 17 and a half. And then I went to live in Israel for a year after that, and that was kind of my first taste of agriculture, working, farming and working these greenhouses, growing tomatoes and working in avocado fields. And I came back from there, and my perception of the world really changed. At the end of my time in Israel, I left and I went down and I spent time down in the Sinai Peninsula down there, and ended up
What's up, Rio?
Not much.
This is Rio, my son, right
I'm
here.
back.
All right, he's back. And so, yeah, my time in Israel really transformed me because I spent time down in Egypt and I saw how people really live outside of the developed world. And so I came back and I went to college for a couple years, but I became a real activist in my university I went to in Massachusetts, and I ended up dropping out of school and going to travel around to see the world, camping, going to rainbow gatherings and festivals, and became like a traveling nomadic person for a while. And I ended up in northern New Mexico, where I found the Earthship books, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I was traveling around thinking like, okay, oh my God, like civilization's gonna collapse, any
Just like
day
totally
now.
paranoid, yeah.
Well, not paranoid, just like I dropped out of school and we're going to hanging with the nomadic paradigm in America and all these young people, and so there's lots of talk going around, and so I found these Earthship books, and I was like, whoa, this is how you live, right? Oh, you drink your water, you catch your water off the roof, and then you use it, and then the gray water feeds your plants. I was like, all I need to know is how to build an Earthship, and I could just live in this pod and survive whatever happens. I just got really excited about whole systems and about...
I'm so showing Mike Reynolds this video.
Yeah, no, it was totally inspirational to me. And that led me to go back to college and to go to Prescott College in Prescott, Arizona, and study ecological design. Right? You can check on it. It might be too late. Okay. And so I got really into architectural design.
Yeah.
Okay.
And was that kind of like the focus going into Prescott?
Yeah, I started studying ecological design, and I started studying architectural rendering, and got really into the built environment. And so through the built environment was how I really got interested in design itself. And then I started taking other classes. I started taking ecology and gardening and natural history, and then I took this class called permaculture. They sent us down to Tucson with Barbara Rose and Brad Lancaster. I know you've interviewed before. And
if you guys haven't checked out that interview too, go check out Brad's. He's rocking.
Yeah.
So
So suddenly the whole world of plants was open to me, and I ended up getting way more interested in horticultural design than necessarily architectural design. I changed course at that point. And I took my permaculture design course, and then I took an advanced permaculture course. Tim Murphy of Regenesis in Santa Fe, he was still the teacher at that time of the advanced. I took his last advanced class he did from Prescott College, and the whole world of permaculture just got blown open for me.
Yeah.
Especially down in Tucson, it was a real hub for desert permaculture, and just saw these awesome examples. And
really different climate out there too. Not only
Yeah.
just like landscape, like mental climate
Yeah.
going on down there.
Yeah.
You know, it's like not a lot of rain, and I just think people just were really chill. You know?
Yeah, Tucson's a very cool place. So I spent some good time in Tucson, and then I went back to Prescott. And it's interesting because I had a kid before I was even done with college, and that really changed my life. I had a child at 23, and so whereas I might have gone and traveled all over the world, if and made that happen, gone to Indonesia, wherever, and seen that was sort of my impulse. Because I had a kid so young, I had to just start to work, and I had to make my way in the world and support my family fairly early. And so I decided that permaculture was going to be the way I was going to do it. I was like, boom. I was like, I'm 23. I was like, I'm supporting myself through permaculture. I wasn't burnt out by the world because it was still kind of early on, and I was like, I can do it.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I can survive doing permaculture. So I started, working for ecological landscapers, learn how to build things, learn how to build, rock walls, different things. So
This is a very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a very nice thing.
So-
Made out of urbanite.
Yeah, urbanite. Here, this is, I know that there's a lot of rock in Oregon. I think it's just buried under a lot of soil and trees, so it's not as readily available as it was in Arizona. So, this is what I got here, urbanite to work with. I still really enjoy doing rock work, but I did about 10 years where I did permaculture design and installation, but it was primarily building hardscapes, which is a lot of stonework, and working with water flow for homeowners, residential landscape design, construction. So I did that for a long time. I managed a small farm in Arcasani, down in the desert for a couple of years, and that's really where I learned about larger scale gardening and agriculture. That was
And not to jump forward, that's
Yeah.
kind of where you're at, like right now, like large scale development. Yeah, I don't want to jump too far
No,
forward.
yeah.
But I mean, it's good stuff.
So
yeah.
now I'm mostly working on large scale. Well, it's funny because the things that my home is a suburban scale here, as you can see, and the projects I have around here in my neighborhood are typically suburban scale projects, but my design projects and the work I'm doing with my clients and my kind of development work right now is larger scale agricultural projects.
Yeah, and I've seen some of your designs, man. They're looking amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're looking really, really good. I mean, come on, man. You're doing amazing work,
Thank you.
Yeah. He's too humble, to be honest with you. He's really humble. He's doing really awesome stuff. Yeah.
Thanks. So I managed a farm in Arcasani, and then I went to work for a landscape architect, Barnabas Kane, in Prescott. And so I got to really get into the design world and understand how the professional design field works. And we, worked on designs for campuses and municipalities and commercial and government and residential, and really got to see like how drawings are put together and when it's appropriate to bring in engineers, and just got a sense of how development is happening out there in a professional way. And so that's kind of the background from which I do my own design work at this point. And then the whole time I was in Prescott, I was teaching like one permaculture design course a year, or two permaculture design course a year through Prescott College. I taught the Prescott College course,
Nice.
and I taught the ECOSA Institute course as well. And then when I moved up to Oregon 7 years ago, just by twist of fate, really, I ended up teaching a course at Oregon State University, and that's just blossomed into a pretty substantial amount of my time is spent with Oregon State University teaching classes on campus as well as online, and developing curriculum and developing material through them.
And we were talking just right before the film.
Yeah.
You had mentioned there's a new course coming up, like.
Well, so now, being in OSU for long enough, you know, when you're in an institution like that for long enough and you kind of survive, people are like, oh, so what are you doing? Oh, how can we help you? You know, so now I've put some proposals and gotten accepted to develop free open source content, which is actually my highest dream. Like working with it in OSU is like, okay, why would you be part of a university? Well, to take the resources of the university, like all these incredibly skilled people, and turn that ship towards working for permaculture.
Dude,
right?
Yeah.
So that's really what's happening now. I'm developing a drought-proof farm module, and it's going to be over an hour long, getting super deep into keyline design and permaculture, water design, and now I just found out today, actually, they told me we're going to do a MOOC, which is a massive open online course. We're going to do so it's basically a free, we're going to do an intro to permaculture course, an intro to permaculture MOOC through OSU.
Through OSU.
Yes. And so they're going to do all the development and everything, and it's just going to be put out there for free.
For free.
For free.
That's amazing work,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, anybody anywhere in the world basically can go do this online for free and get a taste of permaculture if that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, so that'll be a little ways in development. It's going to take a while because they like to do these things right, you know.
Well, I mean, as far as I know, as far as large scale, I don't know if that's been done yet. So
there's a lot of free content out there, not by a major university at that
that's
level.
what I mean. Yeah, major, but pushed by OSU.
Yeah,
pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so like that kind of like transferred you, from Prescott, and then you came up here and you started with OSU. Was that kind of just like you got right in?
It was just one of those miraculous synchronicities and synergies that happen in life. We moved up here because we were just wanting to get out of the desert, really. And my wife was pregnant with Rio, who you just saw running around here, and we just had an impulse to come up to where the swarm was, right? You know?
Yeah, I do know.
The
Portland's
swarm.
amazing.
I mean, Oregon. Yeah, we're in Corvallis. I mean, Western Oregon's the swarm. So we came up here, and by twist of fate, a woman who was this incredibly assertive, very charismatic woman, student at OSU, she started a permaculture club. And I ran into these people, I gave some presentations, and she decided there was going to be a permaculture course at OSU, and she decided I was going to be the teacher. And so this one student, and this is the power of one incredibly assertive person who just gets their way, she lobbied the horticulture department. She got signatures of students that said they would take the course. She brought me in because I'd worked at Prescott College. I had 10 years of history of teaching at permaculture at a college level. So I had I had proof of work. I had materials, my student, I had recommendations from the administration, Prescott College. So I walked into the curriculum committee, I showed them what I did, and the department head of the horticulture department at that time was a wonderful woman, Anita Azarenko, and she was like, sure, let's have a permaculture class, we'll give you a try, right? Because permaculture in Western Oregon, people know about permaculture, more so than a lot of other places. It's almost a household word. Most people have heard the word, they may not know exactly what it really means.
Yeah, and it's if you're watching this and you're into permaculture and you're obviously in another part of the world, and some people are perma what, it's not that way here in Oregon or the whole Pacific Northwest. Almost light years beyond what people are already doing. It's very community driven.
It's on fire. It's on fire. It's very expansive here. It's really inspiring to me. So we did the first course, and it went really well. And the Student Sustainability Center gave me funding for the next course. And then by then, I generated kind of a system for bringing money in, teaching courses, and just kind of got it rolling now. And that was 2009, spring of 2009. So here we are in summer of 2015. So it's been 6 years that I've had it rolling there. And we've had, hundreds of students come through the program. Maybe I don't know, actually. A lot of students have come through and been trained there. And the population of Oregon State University is kids that mostly rural Oregon. a lot of kids that come from farming families. I have a lot of kids in my classes that have land and families are farmers. And so they have a real direct application because they get it. They're not necessarily, I have urban dwellers as well, but it's
No, this
very
is really
interesting.
good. So a change happens like almost immediately, or at least when they kind of take over or can influence the decision makers on the farm.
Yeah, I've actually seen this quite a bit, that it comes back around. I run into students like, hey, I went back to my farm and we're doing all this stuff, or they send me pictures. I mean, it's definitely, you know, a lot of them at least take elements and perspectives and aspects and then integrate it back into their home operations. Yeah.
So it's a real highlight. You know, it sounds like, you know, students are coming back up, and it's kind of what I've really noticed a lot about you is not only that stuff going on, but you have kind of like branched into this large, you know, 100+ acre kind of design, you know, and consultation and installation, you know, part of it. You're kind of doing it in modules, and you know, very experienced doing that. So.
Yeah, well, you know, it's interesting. I mean, back in Arizona, I ended up getting into, I had a really large scale project that I worked on for 2.5 years, and it was basically design and installation of a terraced vineyard and orchard for Maynard Keenan, who's the lead singer of Tool.
Hold on a second. You did the vineyards for the biodynamic, what is it?
Caduceus.
Caduceus, yeah. You did the vineyards for that?
I did his showpiece vineyard around his house that is on a southeast facing slope in Jerome, Arizona. We started out doing an orchard on the north side of the hill. Did a whole kind of zigzag terrace water harvesting system with 45 different varieties of fruit trees there. And he liked it so much that he asked us to come over to the other side of the hill and build his terrace vineyard. So I spent, all in all, 2.5 years working there. Had a big crew of guys. That's where I learned to drive heavy equipment. And I mean, I was the main designer for the project, so I got to spend a lot of time with him actually, you know, kind of brainstorming and stuff. And it was cool. And he gave us backstage passes to come see Tool and Perfect Circle down in Phoenix and stuff. Yeah, it was great.
And this, what year was that?
This would have been 2002 to 2004.
So basically, Maynard James Keenan did Permi.
I don't know if he would say that.
Okay, I got you.
But he does have. I wouldn't say his vineyard is permaculture. I mean, it's an old school terraced, you know, stone hand terraced vineyard. But his orchard that he has is definitely full on permaculture design orchard. Yeah.
No, really cool. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, because we were talking about like biggest project, that was actually. So I had experience coming here, having like really big installation projects, but the scale that has come to me now is at this point I'm basically part owner in a way. I mean, they've made me a partner on these two farms. One's a 200-acre farm and another's a 280-acre farm, and they're in the vicinity of Corvallis here, and they're both grass seed, conventional grass seed farms. So these have been chemically farmed since chemical farming came about, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, 30, 40 years. I'm not exactly sure how long they've been spraying these places, okay? And so then I worked with my client and we did a large-scale water storage reservoir design, and we turned that into the state of Oregon to get basically water rights permits to store about 80 acre-feet of water, building 6 reservoirs and expanding 2 reservoirs. So between 8 ponds, we're going to have about 80 acres of storage. And so right now we're waiting for the water rights permits, and then we're going to go into construction on some of these reservoirs. And so we're building a system to attract producers, basically. So a producer, someone wants to do, you know, it's hard for a young person to get capital, to get money to start an operation.
Yeah.
Right? So at this point, I'm working with people that have those resources to buy land and to even invest in small scale operations to get people started, right? So these both of these properties are basically like blank slates in a way. I'm overseeing it's in a lot of ways, it's like from the Permaculture Designer's Manual, it's a lot like Bill Mollison's Common Works system, where one person has a large property, does a design of how the different operations will work within that property, and then brings in producers to actually do their own operations,
Awesome.
but creates a symbiotic design between them. So that's really what we're going for on these two sites.
And then a little bit more too. So
Yeah.
you've kind of partnered up with somebody
Yeah.
who's looking to kind of angel invest.
Yeah.
And like really high quality
Yeah.
ideas that
Yeah.
have to do with regenerative ag or permaculture.
Yeah.
And that's probably something a lot of people want to know
There
about.
are people out there that have a lot of money that would like to see their money doing good in the world, and would like to see their money not charitable, but they would like to invest in things that will provide a return, but that will actually do good for the earth in the
Yeah.
process of providing a return.
So what is that? That's like an eco Shark Tank, I guess that's not the way to put it. That's like an eco chicken tank or something.
Yeah,
you know?
Eco Shark Tank, yeah. So that's happening right now, and I'm working with some people that would really like to see viable permaculture businesses come about.
So if anybody watching this is kind of got something that's really
Yeah.
could contact
Yeah.
you. Obviously at the end of the show notes and whatever we'll
Yeah.
have all the contact info
Yeah.
for Andrew.
Haven't really gone we haven't really gone public with a lot of this stuff, but it's happening.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
going public.
Okay, right. We don't have a website for this kind of stuff yet. It's more like
They just contact you directly.
Yeah, contact me directly.
Yeah. Which is, don't do it, actually. Don't contact Andrew because you'll just be sucked in by all the awesomeness that's going on,
Yeah.
But
So, I feel like there's a paradigm shift going on. I feel like permaculture is being recognized as a viable solution in rooms and places where it's never been considered before. We don't think of investors, people working the stock market, thinking about putting money towards permaculture. But this is happening now. So
Totally is.
I'm hoping that economic reality can flip it in, because ultimately we need work. We need paying work for permaculture people to do.
earlier today,
Yeah.
just right on this topic,
Yeah.
you were mentioning where your point of view is on where really permaculture is lacking,
Yeah.
just the whole movement in
Yeah.
itself. Would you elaborate on that?
Yeah, we were talking about the Achilles heel of permaculture.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
Achilles heel of permaculture is the fact that what percentage of people that go through a PDC actually then go on to find gainful employment doing permaculture. The more people that can spend their life energy working in permaculture type systems, then those people get accelerated learning themselves and become masters in an accelerated way, as opposed to working another job and then doing permaculture on the side as a hobby. So permaculture has this real lack in that there's not a lot of venues, avenues, forums for people to find gainful employment doing permaculture right out of a PDC. Right? Everybody's trying to navigate their own pathway in this, and a lot of people find it really frustrating.
Yeah,
you know?
and we were saying earlier, it's almost because just the fact that money, it creates a big divide
Yeah.
in the movement.
Yeah.
And so almost built in is the idea that, oh my God, you're going to charge somebody money? I'm completely out. That's not permaculture.
Yeah.
And really kind of, that's not the truth. It's totally opposite of that. If we want this to kind of take this tipping point and move over,
Yeah.
it has to.
Yeah, I mean, people need to be able to support themselves doing
Yeah.
permaculture work so they can spend the time doing it and become better and better. And so between having this relationship with these investors and these properties, and also between creating Permaculture Design International, which is a collaborative design firm that I've been working with a number of people, really the big goal is to try to create more work for more people, so the best and brightest that are turned on by permaculture can support themselves, and they can quit their other job and they can work for the good.
Dude, you're amazing.
Yeah. Boom. That's what we're going for.
So you, in other words, lifting up.
Boom. That's what we're. Yeah.
Hold on, my brain just like, let me put some of that back in.
Yeah. We need permaculture jobs. You know,
totally.
Let's get them.
Yeah, and so I guess the paradox is, you know, for somebody who's kind of just getting new into permaculture, a lot of the draw to permaculture is you're creating your resources. So why go to a job? But the reality is, to get to that point, we have to really kind of be able to exist here, right? Yeah. And so this is what you're saying is a real big issue. It is a real big issue, and we need to realize that and kind of jump on. Yeah. And not only are you realizing it, you have, you know, in this rare opportunities that keep coming Andrew Millison's way, kind of in the position to help, you know, permaculturists kind of launch forward, and you know, in any way you can, you know.
Yeah. I'm trying, you know, and it's going to be a collaborative effort between a lot of people, but that's where my intent is focused right now. In like, what am I developing? Like, what are the structures that I'm developing? I'm training people. What do I have to offer the people that I get a lot of people, especially in the online classes, people that come in that are looking for a career change, you know, and they're really specifically looking for like, how can this lead me to a new career? And
there's not a lot written about that.
Yeah, we need more pathways. We need more examples. We need people that are being successful at this. You know, for me, I mean, I took my permaculture design course in 1996, and it's 19 years ago, right?
No, it's
1996, 19 years ago, and I have been working in permaculture. Like, I've been supporting myself and spending my time doing permaculture there, and
a family,
and those two things go hand in hand. Because the family made me land bound, basically, which was a benefit to me in the long run, because I haven't had the option of wandering to do other things, you know. So I've been like sitting here doing my systems, you know, having my permaculture systems wherever I am and designing and building them. And now when I go back to I go back to Arizona, and I can see work I did, you know, 15 or more years ago, and I get good feedback from how those systems are functioning. But I feel really blessed to have had that opportunity, to have spent so much time doing permaculture work. And I think that that's like the key is people just, what is money? Money can buy you the time to do your permaculture work in a way. I mean,
exactly.
Money itself is just a means of exchange, but if people have the time to do their permaculture work, then they attain a level of proficiency and mastery in an accelerated time frame.
Yeah. So I got some questions.
Okay.
Now you've been designing and consulting for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's back up for a second. We take a permaculture design course. We learn how to design.
Yeah.
There's a couple things we don't talk about, right? And, you know, one of them is like, well, now I know how to design. How do I actually install? Like, where do I start?
Yeah.
You know. Well, there's that, and then there's the how do I actually consult?
Yeah.
Right. So let's kind of, you know, work with those. You have been doing this a while. What are your steps to help the new consultants and designers? What are the kind of steps that you personally take during a consultation process? Like, how does it look like all the way through to even like payment to
It's a big question. I have a whole way.
So it's a big question. Does that mean, bam, get your notebooks out right now?
Well, it's a big question. I tend to feel like I'm interviewing my client to see if I want to work for them as much as they're maybe checking me out to see if they want me to design their place. So I like to go in a consultation that may lead to a design, and have that be a completely open experience that could lead to further work or could end right there and be a complete experience between. So I feel like I need to meet a client face to face before we ever really engage in any kind of long-term contract. And then I like to do a design in distinct phases that have deliverables and an ending. And at that point, like, okay, I'm going to do a conceptual design brainstorm. I'm going to spend 10 hours and I'm going to just go for it and see what I can just sketch up for your site. And then I'm going to meet with you. I'm going to look at that. And then we could end right there. If that's good enough for you, like, I don't really want to do more work for anybody than they really need. So I want to just check in. Okay, here's the 10 hours of work I did for you, right? You could take that and just run with it, and plenty of people do. Okay, now you want to engage me to draw this up in a more detailed way, or you actually want construction plans for this, or you want me to bring in other people, like how much do you need me to elaborate on this? You know, and if people don't want to pay for a full design, I encourage them to take a permaculture design course and design it themselves. I mean, that's the best thing
deal,
is like,
yeah.
You know, I prefer to teach you and have you do it yourself. But if you want me to do it, then let's do it in small stages where we can feel really comfortable all along the way that you're getting what you want out of the process.
Yeah. No, I feel the same. As a matter of fact, even if they hire me on before or after permaculture design course, they're gonna have to maintain it.
Yeah.
So knowing that information, I still highly recommend it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to not have that foundation under you when you're going into this in your lifestyle.
And there's a lot of different kind of clients, and not everybody
Has the time to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're totally right on that. So, okay, so to kind of decompact all that, because that's kind of like a spirally answer there, you basically break it up into modules.
Yeah.
Right? So you got the consultation.
Yeah.
If they want to move forward, then it's the next step. That's a module. Rather than packaging the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that way there's really not, sometimes you can, like we do it sometimes with no contract because it's such smaller segments.
Yeah.
So it could be a very large project, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, well, consultation's one part, design.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, there is a time and place to package something, and a business or developer, someone who is more like developing a project, they want the full package.
Yeah.
You know, but when it's someone who they're going to be building it themselves, they're going to be doing it themselves, especially, like, you don't know what kind of twists and turns you're going to come to when you're going through the design process. So for me to try to really project where it's going to go and how much time it's going to take me from the outset, I just prefer not. I feel like it always changes. Let's just start the whole relationship knowing it's going to change and doing everything in a modular way.
Okay. I think that's, like, beautiful advice. Don't say yes to everything. You know, we're not a yes men, you know. And definitely see if their vision and what you can bring to the table can work together, and are they cool? You know what I mean? Like, like, you know, we're not in this just to, you know, make a buck. We're in it to make a change.
Yeah.
You know, make a real change.
And I really try not to work for a-holes, you know.
Yeah.
Just like one of my rules is, like, if I feel like this is the kind of person that would try to sue me or something for some stupid thing, I'm just like, you know. So reading people, protecting yourself in that way, because
and it gets hard as it gets international, you know, people. And but it's, on the other hand, it's a little bit more flexible, you know, because they're cool with anything. But probably in Oregon, they're really cool, you know. And a lot of places in the States are very conservative, and it's like, you know, you might, I mean, what we kind of do on the end, it's probably good to say this here, is, you know, we kind of put a clause in, but everything's kind of cool up until we get into, like, actually moving earth, or, like, you know, moving a building in or something. And we kind of put a clause like, you know, this is environmentally eco. I mean, we've got, you know, there's over 30 years of experience and, like, know-how that's been on the ground already in, but, you know, this still is, you know, somewhat an experimental deal. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so as long as you know that, and if there are any issues, which there most likely won't be, but any unforeseen issues, we kind of go into that. We talk about it.
Well, in recent times, I haven't been doing installation. I mean, I had a contracting, you know, I was a licensed contractor back in Arizona, but I mean, I've mostly been on the level of, like, a landscape architect, where you do a design. I might check back in, but, you know, a contractor or the owners are doing the installation, and that's changing now a bit with my big projects, because I'm developing it. I mean, I'm not personally doing installation,
but like supervision.
But I'm, like, interviewing the contractors, explaining the design, doing all the drawings, and then, you know, I'm going to be present to make sure things go as planned. And that's really on a scale, the structures we're planning is just a scale that I've never actually worked on before. So it's, I feel like really doing my due diligence and making sure that I have everything thought through, before we get to that point.
Well, what are some of these kind of scaled buildings?
Well, large reservoirs, basically large scale.
Like ponds.
Ponds,
Oh,
yeah. So basically, one
I'm with you.
Yeah.
$30,000 pond, things like
No,
this.
bigger than that, yeah.
Oh yeah, big
Yeah.
ones, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like pretty substantial size reservoirs.
Yeah. So we're talking like, how many megaliters?
Well, I'm not going to go metric on you. I'm going to tell you acre feet.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. We can talk
So
that.
one of our reservoirs we're looking at, now depending on how, we don't know how deep we can go, but one of our big saddle pond itself could be like 35 acre feet, a almost 3 acre footprint of a pond. And that's
on the top of the saddle.
Well, yeah, but it's, a real nice, gentle saddle where it's below the place the creek comes on the property. So we want to create a diversion in the wintertime to get high water flow on this intermittent stream, take it around the hill, store it in this saddle, right? A nice, gentle saddle, and then pump it up to the top of the hill to a turkey's nest pond, and then gravity irrigate the slopes below.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I think a lot of people are going to be able to take away from that really good. And you know what? While we're into it, let's talk about maybe what is your kind of, there's not a lot written, one, how to consult, and two, how to install. So it's kind of got me writing, I'm in the process of writing a book, which I thought there's no way I could finish that thing anytime soon, which is how to install, how to plan and develop a permaculture site. Yeah. So like orders of installation, like what makes sense. There's hardly anything, there is some, but hardly anything written on this. Yeah. What's kind of your modus operandi there?
Yeah, well, it's basically the scales of landscape ordinance and the water system. The water is the bones of the system. So, the hardscaping, that's where when I had a landscape business, like what I end up doing, I end up doing lots of rock work because basically creating the infrastructure for water flow comes first, and water flow ends up being stacked in with pathways and how you move around the site. And then from there you get into actually putting in vegetation, and building the soils in the process as well. Yeah. So water first, and making sure you consider water first, because if you do plantings first before you figure out what you're doing with water, then you might go back and go, dang, I actually wanted to lower that area.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of understanding the watershed, getting into plant systems, and then
well, as far as installation goes, every project's unique. So I could talk about like, well, this place, let's see, the first thing I did was, I basically figured out how the drainage was going to go in this site, and then I started taking care of my most immediate needs, where I wanted plants to get established the fastest, which is blocking from this sometimes busy road here. So I started putting in my screening infrastructure because I wanted that to grow up fast. And I put my annual gardens in right away as well, because that's just like, boom, instantaneous, right? And then I started getting more into detailed perennial plantings on the interior of the site, once I had placed my major items. Well, also placing some of the major items for solar. I was like, I know where my chicken coop's going, boom, because my chicken coop is going to be married to the gardens around it, so that's going to go in the sunniest part of the yard. In Oregon here, sun is a real consideration.
Oh, yeah.
Where, when I was in Arizona, it was still a consideration, but...
Well, of course it's a consideration.
It's a consideration everywhere, but in Oregon, like, access to sun, because we can have some...
The clouds and, like, just the ridiculous, amount of trees.
Yeah, it can get really foggy. And, you can see around me here, we have big trees around here.
Yeah, the sequoias.
Yeah, we have, like, big sequoia trees right here.
Beautiful.
So, that was an equal consideration.
Man, Andrew, you're awesome, man. Thanks so much for doing this. Let's just hug right here. You just rock it. You're so cool. Okay. And we might as well. You ready? You got this thing rolling out? Yeah. You're awesome, man.
All right.
Guys, make sure to check out. Matter of fact, go ahead. What are the websites we need to go to?
I got all kinds of websites now.
Yeah.
If you just type in OSU Permaculture, you come up with our OSU site. It's through the professional and continuing education PACE. I can't remember the exact website right now. I have permaculturerising.com, but my newest website for my collaborative design group is permacultureintl.com. Permaculture International. Permaculture Design International. Yeah, so permacultureintl.com. And I think that's it.
Yeah, and he's on Facebook, and he's also got a YouTube channel, Andrew Millison, which he does his own stuff, online. So get in touch with him. He's doing amazing work. Director of School of Permaculture says not only is he my buddy, unbelievably depth and knowledge, and just an all-around just cool guy. I know he gets tired of me saying that, but it's just true. Love coming to Corvallis. You guys are awesome. Make sure to check out schoolofpermaculture.com. Come take a course from us, hire a consultant, and proceeds from those go to our Aid No Orphanage program. And I hope one day we can get Andrew out and kind of come with us, and we'll hang and do that. So you guys are awesome. We love you. You rock. And we'll see you next time.